Welcome back to part 5 of creating a Dephemerember journal for my dear friend Luise Heinzl. In the previous video, we've started adding very messy and creative layers to the pages we picked out for our signatures. Today, we're diving right back in to finish up those layers. And here's the exciting part. We'll be sewing the signatures into the cover, trying out Luise's binding technique. If you've missed any of the earlier videos, including how we selected the papers and created this cover, you can find the playlist linked below. Also, don't forget to check out Luise's video to see how she's creating my journal. Her playlist is also linked below. Now let's jump right back into the process and I'll walk you through how I finish up these layers and we'll try out Luise's sewing technique for sewing in the signatures. Welcome, it's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. Seems like I was talking to myself this whole time now because the camera wasn't turned on. You haven't missed much, I'll catch you up quickly. So may I introduce Bob the Bug? He's from PM Artist Studio. He's one of these fabulous, super light and fun foam stamps. I used my gold embossing powder for this and my embossing dabber. So let's emboss Bob. He's amazing. Always have fun with Bob the Bug. So what else can we add? This one is still quite empty. So this one I decided needs some gold rings. Let's try the biggest ones. So all of these foam stamps are from PM Artist Studio. I think these ones are called, by the way, this one is not officially called Bob the Bug. This is what I named him. These I think are called nested circles, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yes, this is going to be beautiful. Let's also do the medium-sized one. And we need one more. Let's do the small one. So this is after the magical transformation. I am in love with this. Wow. Since we have this punched out circle here, we're going to add another round element here. And we're going to go right over the fabric. And since we already have some red on one of our pages, I'll add some more red so that one red doesn't look completely off. You know what I mean? I love this red. It is so juicy. This is the candied apple. That looks amazing. Let's add another one. Yes. So this is what they look like embossed. This is just like wow. And you see here on the fabric, it's not glossy, but I still like that we have a full circle there. For this paper bag, I'm going to add this script foam stamp. And I'm again going to use the gold. So this is the heat embossed result. Very happy with that one. And then we have this one. We certainly need a dragonfly. I cannot give Luise a journal without a dragonfly. That's just not possible. So let's try to make this look interesting. And then I want to use different colors. Let's use gold for the middle. I mean, it's kind of hard to do it exact, but we'll just do what we can. Maybe the legs can be gold. I don't think we'll really see the fossilized amber on this mud color, so let's not use that. I'm not sure about the speckled egg either. I again took my, no, that's going to be too harsh. Can't do the sparkled black one. Let's just do red. I don't know, it might look really weird. But I know this will at least stand out. Okay. Let's see what this will look like. So it's definitely unique and interesting. And since we have some bee papers in here, let's also add a bee. What color do we make this? We could do black and gold, right? It would be the only black thing. It's too obvious. Let's not do too obvious. What is this? This is walnut stain. Might be an option. Or pumice stone, a little more subtle. Let's do walnut stain. And maybe if I'm fast on this one, I could sprinkle it a little bit with the gold. Let's see if I was fast enough. It has the finest gold mist there. Let's try this again. Ah yeah, now it sticks better. Let's do it again. Yes. Very cool. So the last one I want to add some embossed stamping to is this glassine bag, because I could imagine this could look pretty cool. It has to be gold. Are you sick of gold yet? Yes, very, very cool. The funny thing is, in real life, I'm totally not a gold person. Like, for example, jewelry. Gold doesn't really suit me. I wear silver pretty much only, but in junk journals, gold is the best. And of course, you can do the same thing with regular stamps. They don't have to be foam stamps. So I'm done with embossing, and we also still have these papers here, which were the coffee dyed papers. And for these, I want to add some more stenciling, and I'm going to add this satin matte acrylic spray in white. And I'm going to take this outside on my balcony because this smells really bad and I don't think it's healthy to breathe this in. So I'll put on a mask and take this to my balcony and show you the results once I'm done. So I've sprayed those. Those are going to dry. I hope they're not going to blow away. It looks like there's a thunderstorm coming our way. Hopefully I will find them on my balcony when I come back. So then on the back sides of all of these papers, I want to add some stamping just with black permanent ink, and I'll just pull some random stamps and get to it. That came out a lot lighter than I thought it would. It left some ink on my stamp. But these are beautiful stamps. They're from Lavinia Stamps. Oh no, this moved a little bit. I just re-inked my ink pad, so it's darker, but I moved it. Oh no. So this is the information of the stamp in case you need it. The number is SA50016. One tip from my side, do the stamping before you do the texture paste, because now you have uneven surfaces and you have to be mindful of where you stamp. So this stamp here is from Crafty Individuals from the UK. And on this side here, I don't really like this because we have our bee coming through and that looks kind of weird. So I will add some stenciling on top. This stencil is from PM Artist Studio. And I'm going to use frayed burlap and my blending brush. I don't want to spray through it because that will show through to the other side, and this way it shouldn't, and it should just cover up this weird part here. Hopefully it's dark enough. Oh yeah, so then let me show you the papers where I used the white spray paint. So this is the one that has the stars on this side. So I also wanted to add stars on this side. Then we have this one, this one, this one, this one, and on this one I just put the stencil that I sprayed through here, reversed it. I love this one actually more than this one. Very cool pattern. And lastly, I have this one, which is the reverse side of my star stencil. So it's from this one, which I actually used to make these stars. And this is one that I had made so many years ago myself by laminating a printed sheet of paper and cutting through it with a Stanley knife. And apparently there was some black spray paint underneath, which came off when I pressed this after spraying through it for this page. So now I have the white and the black, and I think this looks so super cool. I am so curious if Luise is going to figure out how I made this. If she manages to figure this out, I mean, we know she's a genius, but that would top everything. So next I'm going to spread these out on my studio floor on newspapers, and I'm going to start splattering, obviously with gold mostly. I don't know if I'll add any other colors, but gold is definitely going to be one of my splatter colors. And then I'll just show you all that splattering once they're done. That's going to take a while to dry. Also, there's quite a few papers here to do that with. So the gold splatters have finally dried. And as you can see, I've also added some stitching to some of the pages. So I've added it to all of these smaller pages, including these little bits. So I just bunched up some thread from the spool and put it underneath the foot and just sewed over that. And there's here. Didn't do anything there. Then we have it here. And on this one, I don't know where's up and where's down, I also sewed along this outer circle here and around this punched out circle. And then I also sewed around our tea-dyed papers. I think this is my favorite page. I just love how this came out. It's so random. You can actually see the star here and here. Yeah, and then just sewed around those. Made our folds like we did at the very beginning. This one and this one, and then I also just did it on this one because this page kind of looked so plain. Yeah, and the rest I left as they are. Let me just maybe show you what the gold splatters look like. I do think they add such a nice touch. Yeah, I won't show you every page now, but yeah, I really think they're important. So next step is to fold all the papers again and to put them back into signatures. So we have 4 signatures. Oh my goodness. This makes me quite happy. Let's see what it looks like if we put it in the cover. Something like this. Yay! It's taking shape. That's really nice. I decided to add this one here as my first full page, so that way hopefully Luise won't get a complete shock with the colors, because from this to this is quite neutral and works quite well. She'll get the shock later in when she sees more of the colors. So it's time to sew in the signatures. So the first thing we need to do is make a template for the spine to sew in the signatures. It's easiest if we use a graph paper if you're working in centimeters, because the squares are each half a centimeter. Luise and I agreed on a 7.5 centimeter spine, sewing in each signature 1.5 centimeters apart. So let's count 7.5 centimeters. Always 2 boxes is 1 centimeter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5 is there. Let me also give you that measurement in inches. That's 3 inches. So let me just cut that. Then I'm going to fold this in half so that I know where the middle is. Actually, I don't even think I needed to do that. Never mind the middle fold. I'm going to do this differently. Because usually I figure out where the middle is and then mark where the signatures need to be from there. But Luise and I already figured out that we want a signature every 1.5 centimeters. And we also want to have the 1.5 centimeters from the edge. So I can just do that very easily with the graph paper. 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, and 1.5. Super simple. So we just draw these lines. Oh, we haven't done the height yet. Maybe we should figure out how high it needs to be as well. I will make the template as tall as my spine. I will mark where the top is. This is essential. Otherwise, your holes might not line up, even though you think you've marked them very exact. They will be different if once you have your template like this, because we're going to use the same template to poke our holes in the signatures. If you have it once like this and once like this, the holes will not match up. Then I'll fold it like this to figure out where the middle is height-wise. It's not exactly on one of my lines, but I'm just going to pretend one of my lines is the middle because it's very close and it makes it so much easier when making the holes. So I'm going to say this is my middle, which is just the tiniest bit off. And then how many holes do we want to make? I want to make sure that the pages are in really sturdy. So I'll make a hole every 3 centimeters. So every 6 boxes. And we'll do the same thing going down. So in total, we're going to have 7 holes per signature. Then I'm going to take a piece of foam. This just makes it easier to poke the holes. And I'm going to poke holes wherever my lines cross. And I do that for all of my 4 rows. If you're going to sew through your cover, then you can just lay the template here. Make sure it's in the middle. I just do that by folding it, making sure that these 2 ends meet and moving this so it's in the middle. Then you would know this is where you have to poke your holes through the cover. I'm going to do a hidden spine because I do not want to sew through this here. So for that we need another piece of fabric. So I cut this one out of the same material that I used for the inside cover, and I cut it just a tiny bit wider than my template. It doesn't have to be wider, it could be the exact measurement of your template as well. And it has the height of the fabric that's already in here. And as you can see, I've already sewn on the top and the bottom so that it looks like it's one continuous piece up here. So this looks a little bit too new for me compared to the rest of the cover. So I'm going to spray a little bit of the Lost Shadow Distress Oxide spray on it. And I won't even bother with the star template because this spray is so light that I know we won't even see it. Okay, so once it's dry, we put it here. Yeah, it fits much better, you see. It's just not that pristine anymore, which is great. Now this is a bit flimsy, so I want to back this. I'll use some packaging paper. So I'll use this here as a template because it's easier to trace. The width is perfect. The height of my template is a little bit taller than my fabric, so I'll just remember that I'll make this piece that much shorter. So once I have that cut out, I'm going to take some PVA glue, thin it down with a little bit of water, and spread it all over my packaging. Turn my fabric spine to face down and add my template. Not template, my packaging. So it's important that we do not see the packaging on the edges, which is why I cut it a little bit smaller than my fabric. So once this has dried, we're going to lay our template on top of our hidden spine, making sure that it is centered. To be more accurate, we could just fold this here. We won't see that later. This one is already folded, so now we just make sure that the folds line up. That way we know that the distance from here is the same as the distance from here. Now I will clamp these together so that they stay in place. You make sure you have your top here on top and that this is the right side up. And then we just again use the template to poke our holes through the fabric. So on the back now we can see all of our holes. We can take the template off. If you don't see them well enough, you can go through them one more time and make the holes bigger. This will make sewing a little bit easier. If you don't see them well enough to poke them, to make the holes bigger, you can just poke in through the back because they're, actually I'll do that because that is much easier to see. It's worth to take the extra time to do this because if it's hard to see the holes when you're sewing in the signatures, that can be quite frustrating. Then we take our signatures, so this is the first one, and we make sure that all the pages are lined up how we want them. So we want to make sure this is positioned exactly where we want it positioned, as well as all the other pages. We make sure that this is exactly where you want it to be and that all of these pages line up. So once I have that, I will go to the middle of the signature. Make sure they're all flush here in the middle. And I like to take these big paper clips. You can also use clamps or anything you have and just secure these. I just do that on the front part, not on the back. And then we take our template. And what I like to do is, since the template is bigger than the signatures, because our cover is higher than our signatures, I will place the signature in the middle of the template so that we have, in our case, a centimeter on top and on the bottom. And I make a line here on the top so that I know that each signature needs to line up with this line here. Very important, otherwise they won't be the same in the end. So now I can just fold this on one of our 4 signature lines. Doesn't really matter which one. I can set this in here. I make sure that this line lines up with the top of my page. Make sure it's in the crease, and then I use some masking tape to hold it in place. And then I just poke through the same holes from the template. I usually like starting with the middle, although it does not matter. And we go through all of our layers. And we poke all of our 7 holes. We do that for all 4 signatures, of course. So then we need a thread. I'm going to try this one. This is just a cotton thread. I like the neutral color. Usually I would measure 3 times the height of the spine for 1 signature, but I actually want to try a method that Luise usually uses for sewing in her signature, which I've never tried before, which is rather than sewing the 4 signatures in separately with 4 threads, to sew them in continuously with 1 thread. I am very, very curious if I would like this method and if it's easier or not. So question is, how do you know how much thread you need? I'm going to calculate again 3 heights per signature and a little extra. So that means I need the height 12 times plus a little bit extra. So I'm doing like 12.5. But I'm already wondering, having such a long thread, you pull forever. Wow, I don't know if I'm going to like this method, but I do want to try it because it seems to be Luise's preferred method. So let's take a needle. So let's try this. I will start at the bottom, go from the inside out, then go to my left row, start with the bottom hole here as well. We leave a tail and we just go in and out until we are at the top. It's a lot of thread to pull through. Well, I don't know if this is going to be faster because we only need 1 thread. This is very interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to move these clips because what I can't see is the holes in this. I can see it on this side, but not on the other side. In between, I'll pull this to make sure that it's tight. So that's 1. So we leave the thread on and we take our second signature and we just continue. So we're at the top and we'll just go through this hole in the next row. Here we just move over 1 row and we just go through the next signature. Maybe we should take the template out. What do you think? Let's not sew that in our journal. So then we just poke in the top hole here. Let's not get our thread tangled. That's possible. That's the problem with such a long thread. Of course, that tangles much more easily than if you have shorter threads. Now, what did I do? Oh no. What happened here? Okay, I got it. All good. Now we just go down, and with the next one we'll go over, we'll go up, we'll go over, and we'll go down. And in between, always make sure to pull tight. Don't want any loose signatures in the end. Okay, that's 2 in. And guess what? This is not working. Because now my last hole, I'm inside, so how am I going to move over? What? Luise, how do you do this? You probably have an even number of holes and I have an odd number of holes. Yep, this is not going to work. Okay, that's a learning. Only do this method if you have an even number of holes. Okay, so I'm going to cut up the thread into 4 even pieces and I will sew them in separately like I always do. So I took the second signature out I cut the thread off to be about 3 times the height. I've left this part in that we've sewn in together. And now instead of going over, I will just go down here. So this is my usual method of sewing in the signatures. I feel much more comfortable with this. The thread is short, doesn't get tangled. Will I ever try the other method again? Maybe. Not for this journal. So I'm just going down into the same holes, making sure not to pierce through the thread when I punch through those holes. And when I'm here, I will take out my needle and just make a double knot. But first I make sure that all of these are really nice and tight. And snip off the ends. So I will repeat the same process for the other 3 signatures. So once you're at this stage where you have sewn in all your signatures, take a deep breath and congratulate yourself. Be proud of what you've done. I love this stage because this is where it all comes together and you see all your hard work in one piece. I love this. So now the only thing that's left to do is to put this into our cover. So let's stand this up. Take your preferred glue that you know holds well. I'm just going to spread that all over my spine here. This is just PVA glue. This time we're not thinning it down. We want this to be very strong and never fall apart, hopefully. And now make double and triple and quadruple times sure that everything is the right side up. You're not gluing it in upside down. That would be really terrible at this point. So you could measure, but I'm just going to do it like this. Make sure these line up. Yeah. And then just make sure that this is burnished down really well. And then I take a bone folder and just make sure that this is really burnished down. Turn it around, do the same thing. And also in between the signatures. We want it nice and flat. This obviously needs to dry, but you have a journal. Congratulations. This makes me so happy. Just make sure that it's really attached well here on the bottom as well. Maybe we check the top again too. Yeah. And this will get a stiffer spine than my planners will, because for my planners, let me show you. See, for my planners, I sew right through the cover, which means that this spine always stays very flexible. But with this one, since we've added glue, 2 layers of glue actually, this is probably going to get more stiff and flat, which is perfect because I think that's what Luise likes. So this is right in the middle and we have a journal for Luise. So in the next and final episode, we're going to add some spots to stick ephemera into, like tuck spots, pockets, belly bands, and such. And we'll have a finished journal for Luise. I am so excited. So hope to see you back here for that episode. Love you guys. Mwah! Mwah!